politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. Joining us on the Malzberg panel, we welcome in criminal defense attorney Janet Johnson and columnist for the UK Telegraph and National Review, Tom Rogan. And to both of you, we just finished an exclusive interview with former Congressman Todd Akins, of course, who ran for the Senate unsuccessfully back in 2012 in the middle of his remarks on rape. He says that he is here to help the Republican Party. He says he doesn't really care if the party bosses don't want him to speak. He says that Republicans have to speak out loudly and clearly that it's the Democrats waging the war on women, and he gave several examples. So, Janet, do you think that him writing a book and having it come out now is going to hurt the Republicans or make no difference at all?
Well, another great interview, Steve. I mean, you've been in the news with all these great interviews, and there's so much to pick from in that. But, you know, maybe it counterbalances Monica Lewinsky's book. I think it seemed more about Todd Akins than the political parties. And he basically said, I mean, you had a very poignant moment where you said, are you trying to help or hurt Republicans? He said, I want to help Americans. So it seemed like it was a little bit of, I'm trying to promote myself, get back in the news. And I don't think it's going to affect politics one way or the other unless it's about Todd Akins.
Yeah, and Tom, bad timing or not?
Yeah, you know, I think he raises some important issues, but the problem is, because of what he said before, it becomes very, very difficult for him actually to get on the national stage and convince, I think, Americans really to listen to him now. The Democrats will use him as a stickman figure to represent the rest of the Republican Party, which I think has recognized the need to do much better in terms of outreach to women and talking about women's issues in a way that shows that the Democratic Party's false narrative of, looking out for women's interests really is false. But I'm not sure that Todd Akins is the best person to be delivering that message, even if some of the tone and substance of what he's saying actually has some value.
One
But
more
Steve,
on Todd Akins.
Your
Go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, I mean, your conversation will get reported. I mean, I disagree a little bit because this will get attention. I mean, there's no doubt he is going to get attention for that. But I just don't think it's going to reflect on either party. It's going to reflect on him. I mean, he was an outlier with that statement. I mean, I don't agree that the Democrats are waging a war on women, but I think that he looked like a lone wolf. He looked like he had a very minority opinion that he was espousing, and that's a talker. Your conversation, I would pay attention to that if I was watching the news.
Well, I appreciate that, but let's go to a larger point perhaps that we address on this show all the time and that he brought up, and that is the hypocrisy. You know, as I said to him, and I remember this distinctively when I was on WOR talking about the 012 convention and talking about how they labeled that the party of rape and the convention of rapists, and because of what Todd Akins had said, even though everyone from John McCain and Mitt Romney and everybody else distanced themselves from him, and then he brought up that the keynote speaker at the Democratic convention, same year, couple of weeks removed, was Bill Clinton, who we know all the accusations against him. So is that not media hypocrisy 101 at its worst, Janet?
Well, I don't think, Bill Clinton was charged with rape, but, he was the president of the United States. So to have him as a keynote speaker is kind of a natural transition. I don't think you can say it's the party of rape. I think his statement was very wrong, and I think everyone who condemned it was right. But, we're now litigating contraception, and, Hobby Lobby, you and I talked about this, Steve, last week. This is not a decision that women are going to embrace. So if you're a part of a party that stands behind that decision and says that your employer can tell you what birth control you can use, I don't think women are going to like that message.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tom, I think women are smarter than that. They know that this is a very targeted decision based on 4 what some call abortion pills. And by the way, what did women do before the Affordable Care Act? Did they have no birth control, no health care? But that aside, I think they're smart enough to understand. I think they're smart enough to understand also, if we're going to talk about war on women, you know, you got Hillary Clinton out there who's on tape laughing and yucking it up about getting off an accused child rapist who she says she thought was guilty, faked his way past a lie detector test, bragged that she will never believe a lie detector test again because of that. And during the trial, reportedly said that the girl had accused other people before. The girl today says that was never the case. She's outraged at the way Hillary treated her case. And Hillary apparently lied about taking the case. She said to a reporter in the 80s that she did it as a favor to a friend who was a prosecutor who asked her. Yet the other day she said she was assigned it by a judge and she tried to get out of it. So you tell me which women and Americans should be more concerned about, Tom.
Steve, I think that's the perfect point. You know, really what this comes down to is, at least in my view, the intersection of media bias. You see what's happening with the Washington Free Beacon and University of Arkansas getting that story about Hillary Clinton and now being banned from the library, and actual real women's issues. You know, my problem with Todd Akins is that he's just said too many stupid things. But as you say, when it comes down to it, the simple reality of Hillary Clinton, of this, you know, pathetic kind of false narrative that the Democrats throw out there about being the party of women when there are so many more complex issues. That's the opportunity for conservatives to actually say, is this really what you believe? Is this what you stand for? Is this the substance that you offer? Because there is no substance to it. And then you get into the debate about individual issues, which is the right debate to have. But again, whether it's contraception or whatever, you clearly see this stick manning and really, I think, a quite obvious disregard for women as anything more than a potential, you know, voting bloc that can be sort of weaponized for the Democratic Party. So I think you hit it on the nail on that one.
Janet, final comment on this.
Well, as a defense attorney, I hope you don't judge me by the cases that I defend, because that doesn't make me an accomplice or an accessory. That makes me part of the constitutional process, and I'm proud that I represent people, and their guilt or innocence isn't the issue.
But if you went to lunch and laughed and bragged about getting off a child rapist, I'd have a problem with you.
Well, I'm glad you don't go to lunch with me, because we talk about a lot of off-color things. That's part of what we do. Sometimes, you know, with prosecutors. So I relate to what you
all right,
said.
stay with Janet. Stay where you are. Janet Johnson and, of course, Tom Rogan. When we come back, I want you to hear what some African Americans are saying about our president. If you want to weigh in on any of what you're hearing or seeing, here's how you can do it, ladies and gentlemen.